what was it like being a police officer?
Being a police officer was a lot of things. It was something I enjoyed very much doing. Sometimes it was very scary. Sometimes it was fun.
Did it mean a lot of things to you?
It sure did. It meant that I could help people, whoever called and asked for it, or I could, keep the streets safe or try to find bad guys, or maybe somebody gets lost, like an old person or a young child, and I'd find them and get them back home safely. And it was a lot of things.
True. I mean, that's a good answer.
Oh, thank you very much.
What is it like to be a papa?
Oh,
PAPA?
man, I love being a papa because I'm your papa. I'm your grandfather, but you call me papa, which I love.
Yeah, it's like a short.
It is one of the best things in my life because I like spending time with all my grandkids. I love to go see them play their games.
Oh, but wait, Papa spelled P-A-P-A.
That's correct. And my truck is called the Papanator. And like today, you and I spent time together today. Remember what we did?
Oh, yeah, we went to Camelot, and I did a trick shot.
You did a trick shot, and you did like 3 or 4 holes in one. You were amazing.
Yeah. You can ask me a couple questions.
Oh, I sure would.
If you want.
Okay. What's your favorite thing to do when we hang out, you and me?
Spend time together.
Yeah, and do you have more fun when we play catch? Or like when we went to Camelot today to do miniature golf, or like when we go swimming in the summer, or when we go fishing, which one do you like the best?
Honestly, I like all of them.
Oh, okay, good answer. Yeah, they're all pretty fun. Different things are pretty good.
You just make them fun.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's because I enjoy it hanging out with you so much and spending time with you and all my grandkids.
Okay, now you're going to talk with somebody else, guys, okay? It's going to be my dad.
Can you introduce them?
Who we were kind of talking about, my dad when he was young, but now he's like an adult. As you know, so bye.
Bye.
Hi, Let's Ride listeners. It's your friend Paul Estrada. If you've gotten any value out of any of the episodes, I'm here to ask you to pause this episode and take a moment to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you're a real go-getter, please take a moment to leave a review of the podcast. I'd be indebted to you forever. Thank you for supporting and listening to the show and for going on this journey with us. Pause, subscribe, and let's ride. Our guest today is a 30-year veteran of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, where he spent the bulk of his career working the graveyard shift, patrolling the gang-infested streets of East Los Angeles. He spent his career helping those in need, regularly risking his life to protect and serve others. Despite facing life-threatening situations regularly, he maintained a remarkable ability to compartmentalize, never bringing the challenges of work home to his family. He's a father, husband, and a papa to his 4, going on 5 grandchildren. He also happens to be my dad. Our guest today is Mario Estrada. All right, Dad, I'm going to start with one of the hardest hitting questions at the very beginning. And that is, why'd you make me pull so many damn weeds in the backyard?
Well, because you were good at it. That's why.
Geez.
So I said, I'm going to use this kid because he's got a talent right there. So
I was just like, as I was thinking about this conversation, and moments from childhood, that was like kind of a mundane one. But I just remember every time we're like, hey, it's Saturday, you got to pull weeds. And I just think of every excuse of why that was not a good idea.
You did it though. You never complained. I don't remember
I definitely complained. You might just not remember that part.
Oh, well, maybe.
But I think I got smarter after a while, and I started watering the night before, which was just
I do remember you doing that. Yeah, that's right. Smart too.
Which was a huge leg up. So,
yeah.
No, I'm
absolutely.
just kidding. I think the reason why I say that is because in some of these conversations that I've been having is trying to help myself and other people understand like how we're raising kids and some of the different methods that we use to do that.
Right. And
when I think back to that time, the weeds weren't that big a deal, but I'm just curious, like, did you really want your backyard looking that nice, or was there more like, I need to give this kid, like, this kid needs to be doing something. He's got it too easy.
No, it was really to make the yard look nice, because you let him go and it gets out of hand. But no, it wasn't discipline at all. It was just a chore. It's a common one. I think a lot of kids are. I don't know if they do it anymore, but back then that was a big thing. When I was a kid, yeah, we were weed pulling fools too back then. So I did a lot.
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't discipline at all.
I think it's just,
you were a good kid.
Yeah. And what's funny is when I'd be in the middle of that and I would just tell myself, one day when I have my own house, I'm going to have a gardener and I'm never going to do this again. And, fast forward to today, that's exactly what I have. Like I have a gardener. So I was slightly traumatized by it, or I felt like I had just done enough weed pulling for a full lifetime and just never.
Funny you mentioned that. Now that I think about it, back when you were young and when I was young, especially, we didn't have gardeners. You didn't see that many gardeners out there. Everybody did their own lawn. So it's just a changing of times, I guess. Now that's all you see. Mostly you have gardeners that come in every month and stuff. So times have changed.
Yeah. So joking aside, I think one of the things that comes to my mind first and foremost when I think about growing up was how much education was pushed on us and when I say push, I mean in a good way. And to the point where, all three of your kids graduated from, got a 4-year degree, and you had, our sister, your daughter, that got an advanced degree. And looking back at how you mentioned how you grew up and how that was not something necessarily that was a priority or pushed on you.
Right.
But it was a huge priority. You and Mom talked about it constantly.
Yeah.
What drew you to make that such a priority, given that it wasn't a priority necessarily for you?
Back when I was growing up, it wasn't pushed on us by my parents at all. We just kind of did our own thing. But what I did realize and notice that people that were going to college were getting ahead in life a lot easier. I mean, it wasn't easy going to college, but I mean, after you got your degree, things were better for them. So I knew that you kids, I was going to push education for you guys.
Yeah.
Now, if it turned out that you didn't do well in school, or any of you didn't do well, then I wouldn't push it. Sometimes college is not for everybody, and you can still make your way doing other things. Look at me.
Right.
But I felt it was important that I tried to give you kids that advantage, and I think it worked out nicely.
No, 100% it did. And that was what you just saw certain friends of yours that you went to school with that were doing better. I'm just curious because you guys were very adamant about this. So yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it was just, I had friends who were, my parents, good parents, but they didn't push education very much at all. So we just go to school, which is, I went to a private school as well as my brothers and sisters, your uncles and aunts, but they never pushed it. I mean, I did my own thing. Sometimes I do my homework in the morning before I go to school.
Sounds familiar.
It was kind of ridiculous now that I think back on that. But I would see my friends and I would look the newspaper and see people, getting their degrees and doing this type of job, this other type of great job, making more money than your average person. So I knew I wanted that for you guys. And I was going to push it. And like I said, if it's something that you really, really weren't akin to or that you were gravitated towards, then I wouldn't have pushed it anymore. Like I said, you can do other things as well. But I wanted to put that first and see if that was for you.
Does that come from just because you didn't have it as you had it harder and you experienced it, so that's why you didn't want us to go through the same thing? Or is it something else?
When I finished or getting near graduating from high school, I was rudderless. I go, what am I going to do? I go, I don't know. I didn't apply for colleges. I didn't apply for colleges in high school. I don't think I ever told you that before, but never did because nobody pushed me to do that. I mean, as a kid, you do need a certain amount of coaxing to do certain things, certain good things. And that wasn't my case. Yeah. My parents were not college graduates either. So I don't know if that's why they didn't push it on me. But I realized that it was an important aspect of getting ahead in this world and taking care of your family. So
but that's what I'm trying to figure out is I know you didn't go to school, but your oldest brother graduated from UCLA, which is a very high-end university. You have a sister that graduated, I think, with the master's degree from Columbia University, which I think is an Ivy League school, right?
It is Ivy League,
So very well-educated siblings. And
so what's my excuse?
But that coming from what I'm trying to connect the dots, right? Because when I look at the family now, there's definitely a value on education, but it sounds like you and your siblings were not pushed in that direction, yet somehow ended up, like I said, going to these prestigious universities, and even the ones that didn't, like you and Uncle Marty, are doing did very well professionally. So I'm just trying to connect the dots on how was that possible when there wasn't that driving force behind you guys?
How was it possible we succeeded?
Yeah, all you guys succeeded in that way.
We weren't lazy. That's a key thing right there. We were all good people. We didn't want to do bad things, but we wanted to find our niche in life. Like I said, I knew nothing about higher education, or very little. Wasn't pushed on me like we discussed. But we were hard workers. And like I said, after I graduated or getting near graduating high school, I was rudderless.
Yeah.
And I was happy-go-lucky, and then it finally hit me. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Where am I going after this? I said, oh, my goodness. So that all kind of worked out because a friend of mine who I'd gone to high school with, and he joined the Marine Corps.
Right.
And he came back after boot camp and told me all about the Marine Corps. And then I said to myself, that's it. That's my next step. And
was it like immediately as he was talking that happened, or you had to go home and think about it for a minute?
No. I had to. When I saw him in uniform, he came back in uniform.
Okay.
And I said, but immediately I liked it. I said, oh man.
You liked the uniform, or you liked what?
No, what he had to say. Oh yeah, I like
Okay.
the uniform. We got the best uniforms. Come on, dress blues. Hello. The way he was talking about the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And the discipline involved and how hard it was, I was drawn to the difficulty of finishing Marine Corps boot camp.
Okay.
But he would tell us, we all played football together, and we had this thing in high school called Hell Week,
Right.
which was conditioning week for us. And it was horrible physically. They made us go to these, we sweated, and it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
And so this friend of mine, his name was Jesse, he came back and he said, remember Hell Week? I said, yeah, how could I forget? He goes, Marine Corps boot camp makes it look like a walk in the park. And my eyes just opened wide. I said,
Yes. That sounds awesome.
I said, man, I want to do that.
Really?
I was drawn to that. I really like the discipline and the way he talked to Marine Corps.
Yeah.
If you talk to other Marines, and you're never ex-Marine, as you know,
Yeah.
you're always a Marine, but they'll tell you about the pride that's involved with it. Knowing me through all growing up, you know how proud I am of that Marine Corps. And so anyway, it turned out it was a great move for me. It just kind of like God sent it to me, like send this guy to him. And it was like, that's it. It was like the light went on. I said, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to do.
And that's it. So you said, okay, so you talked to this guy, but like I said, was it immediate? Was it you went back that night? Was it a couple weeks, months later before you?
No, it was
that?
it was the attraction to it was immediate.
Okay.
But I didn't decide I was going to do it immediately.
Okay.
So I go home, and man, it was in my brain. It was like, wow. So I went home.
Like a thought you just couldn't shake it out.
Right.
There.
And I started doing some research on the Marine Corps and talked to other Marines and started telling people around me, I think I'm going to go to the Marine Corps. Not really meaning it at the time,
Yeah.
but it just evolved. I would say within, like a month or two. And I almost kind of talked myself in the corner. Okay, I told these people I was going to the Marine Corps. I better go in now.
Yeah.
Seriously, that was kind of the way it happened. But I was probably was going to do it anyway. So anyway, I just finally decided, it just, the light turned on and I saw, this is the direction I'm supposed to take.
Okay.
And I was really drawn to patriotism too. I always loved my country. I wanted to give back. And that's one of the biggest ways you can give back right there.
Absolutely.
I said, this is it. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. We could talk about we got started. They've heard those that have been listening to this have heard the stories. In fact, I was just telling, we'll get your perspective on this and then we'll move on. But I was explaining about our good neighbor, Nick, growing up and how his dad was in the Navy and how he would come over here and you basically wouldn't let him, if he would say speak any ill will against the Marine Corps, he was going to have hell to pay for it until he agreed that it was the best branch in the military. So can't forget those stories.
Yeah.
All right. So you go to the military and you come out, you said before, like, hey, you were rudderless.
Yes.
Did you feel like when you came out, you had a rudder?
I kind of, I knew I was going to go to college.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. I said, I think I'm supposed to go to college now. It wasn't really like, I'm going to college. I want to study this. I want to do this. And then that's it.
Right.
It wasn't. I just felt, I think I should go to college. I got the GI Bill now. So maybe I should use that. And so I kind of thought about being a lawyer, first.
Okay.
Which I'll tell you more about that, but I'm glad I didn't. I'm not that it's a bad job. Of course, it's a great job, but it's just not me.
Yeah.
So I went to college. I got my AA. Then I transferred to Cal State LA. I was in college there, and I forget how I was into it pretty deep. And I was sitting in accounting class one day, and I'm trying to focus, and it just was not interesting me. And then it was like another light goes on in my head, going, "What am I doing here?" what am I doing here?
You got a high electricity bill in that brain of yours.
Yeah, that darn bulb was going on throughout my life at certain times. But I said, this is not me. I go, we had you guys go through it, but like I said, for some people, it's just not there. It's not something you should do. So I stopped college.
Well, it was since you say that, you said it, and again, this is not in a bad way, but the way you and mom positioned it, it's as if there was no other option. Like you're gonna get your degree, and again, like you weren't not like you were forcing, but it just the way you set the foundation, talked about it, the way you spent a lot of money in our elementary and high school years, It's like, I mean, come on, guys, like, you know what I mean? So
now, to tell you the truth, the way we put it out there, we said kind of like, no, you're going to college, right? Now, had you said to come to me and say, Dad, I'm just not open to college, I just don't want to do it, I would have said, okay, let's find you something else. So the doors weren't closed to you.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I didn't feel that way. It just felt more like it was the natural progression. Like it had gotten ingrained in such a way that it felt like there was no other, even though, like you said, even though there would have been other options, in my mind, it's like, no, there isn't an other option. This is what you need to go do.
And that was what I meant to do, to have it in your mind that you're going to college. Yeah. And it worked out great, obviously. You guys turned out great. So it was the right thing to do.
No complaints, Okay, so you're going to school and, it's not working out to get your degree. And like, what do you decide to do after that?
Well, I was working for UPS. I worked for my uncle. My Uncle Ray, he had a janitor business, which I hated. Oh my God, I hated that. But it was a job. Honest job. And then I got a good job at UPS, our parcel service. And I did that for a couple of years, but it was still not what really I wanted to do, So I thought, I was always into paramilitary kind of job, wearing a uniform and stuff like that. So then I thought, law enforcement. I said, that's it. I don't know why.
The light bulb.
There's that boy.
There it is.
I heard the click. I said, there it is. Why I did not think of this before is beyond me. I know part of the problem. I was still single before you guys came along, and I was having a good time with my friends. And so I kind of rudderless again, but kind of not. Yeah. But finally, my bulb came on and said, yes, law enforcement. That's me. That's what I want to do. So that's how that started.
And were you, I can't remember, was I already born at that time, or like what prompted your decision where you're just like, okay, I need to find like something super steady at this point?
Yes. Actually, UPS would have provided us with a very good living as well. Because back then, I don't know how it is now, but the pay was good. But it wasn't a job for me. It wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I really wanted to find something that I wanted to do, that I was interested in doing, and would make me want to go to work every day, and also something that could feed my family well and keep my family taken care of. Right. And just, once again, there's my light bulb. Yeah. I said, there's law enforcement. So I looked into it. I saw the pay was really good. I saw the retirement was outstanding and all the benefits were excellent. So I said, this is it. Okay. This is it.
So you make that decision, you go through all the training and whatnot. Do you remember the first day or the first week or just the beginning of when you were like officially a police officer wearing that uniform? Like, just what was going through your mind in those early days?
It was awesome to put that uniform on, Yeah. And like they told us in the academy, okay, go home, stand in front of the mirror, draw your gun a few times and act like, Wild West guy, and then put it away. And he read all our minds. So, but it was awesome. Putting on that uniform was just like, I was very proud. I was very proud of myself.
And where did you tell me you started in the jail first?
No, I started with a department called the LA County Marshal's Department, which was not for me. And I'll explain it a little bit later. It was a department, took care of the courts. Okay. And they had jails in there, and I would work the jail there and, monitor the prisoners and all that stuff like that.
So you weren't out on the street at this point?
Actually, I did go in the Marshal Department. There's a thing called the warrant unit where you would search for suspects.
But it wasn't warrants. Like patrol.
Yeah, it wasn't patrol. So, but it wasn't me. Okay. So after a couple years, actually, the Sheriff's Department, this worked out. There's another thing that worked out for me. So this Marshal's Department was a county department. and our LA County Sheriff's Department was also a county department. We got paid exactly the same. We were on the same retirement organization. And what happened was that the huge Sheriff's Department took over the Marshal's Department right at the time I was trying to transfer out to the Sheriff's Department.
Okay.
It was like, I was thinking, well, are they doing this for me? Because this is working out perfectly.
Yeah.
So we were in Marshal's uniforms one day, literally. And the next day, we were in sheriff's uniforms, and I felt even better.
And is that what transitioned you into patrol at this point?
Yes, even in the Marshal Department, I had always wanted to be a street cop.
Okay.
Your classic street cop. That's what I wanted to do. That was what I was totally drawn to.
And when you started that, what was your district or area that you were covering?
My first station was East Los Angeles Station. It's a very respected, the LA County Sheriff's Department has many, many stations. It's huge. I mean, the annual budget is over $3 billion. I think it might be closer to $4 billion with a B.
Yeah.
Nowadays, but it's huge. So the station I asked for and got, which is a pretty popular station to work, was called East LA Station. It was a super busy station. The area is gang infested. And yeah, that's where I went to first.
And for people that are listening to this that aren't from LA, how would you were starting to describe it as gang infested, but
yes,
the demographics, I guess how the housing was, the type of people that were living there, like just to paint a picture of what that area was like.
The area is by far Hispanic. By far, all the people in that area are just hardworking, good people. But you have your criminal element, like I said, in this case, your gangs there, and literally every neighborhood in the area we patrolled was gang infested.
Yeah.
So it was bad. It was a very violent place, unsafe place at night. So yeah, we were.
Yeah.
busy.
So in addition to you working a dangerous area, you also work the graveyard shift, right? Which is
so we're graveyard shift. Yeah.
dangerous time of the
it was.
day,
It was
right?
the busiest time of night.
So you wanted this for yourself.
Yes.
You got it.
Yes.
Was it in those early days? Was it what you thought it was going to be, or was it something different?
It was actually harder than I thought it would be. Yeah, a lot harder. In regards to what you have to know for patrol, you need to know so much.
Yeah, this is before Google Maps and stuff, right? So you got to know streets.
Yeah, we worked out of Thomas guys back then.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to know as far as your laws of arrest, your regional suspicion. I mean, I could throw it all types.
Just a lot of technical training,
legal
basically.
terms out there, and you got to know that stuff.
Okay.
And that's just a small part of it.
So that's the technical piece. I'm thinking more of just from a personal, like emotionally, just like how you're feeling about the situation that you are in career-wise.
I felt like this is me.
Okay.
And I felt like I can do some good here. And I had the attitude that I wanted to do what you're supposed to do as a cop.
Right.
Keep people safe, catch the bad guys, or whatever else I need to do to help people.
Right.
So I knew I belonged there. I knew this is what I need to do.
Okay.
I'm here.
That's awesome and admirable. And I think most police officers, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you run into reality, which is, I'm sure a lot of the people were very happy to have you there. And then, like you said, there's gang members and other people that are not happy to have you there.
Right.
Or even sometimes just, I don't know, whack jobs that aren't happy to have you there either.
Right.
What was it like when you came up against those types of people? Like where you're trying to do something good and these people are just resisting, like you trying to literally help them.
Oh yeah. We'd run into that all the time.
Yes, but
most people are thankful, but yeah, we'd run into that all the time. For example, you'd be bringing in a gang member, and every once in a while, I heard this more than once, he goes, "You're a traitor to our race." I go, a traitor? I'm doing something good here, and I'm the bad guy? But I wouldn't talk to him after that unless I had to, because it's going nowhere.
But even like those gang members, family members that are obviously it's their children or their uncle or their whatever that just see you as someone taking them away as opposed to doing the good that you're actually doing, right?
Well, surprisingly, there were a lot of gang members' parents who supported us. Of course, they didn't want to see their children go to jail but you got to realize that a lot of these parents are helpless in helping their kids in areas like that because their kids are confronted by other gang members threatening them to get in the gangs to join them. So a lot of times the parents don't have a choice.
Mhm.
I mean, they could try to move out of the area, which is economically is real tough for a lot of them. So they're kind of stuck in a rut. I mean, in a bad, catch-22 position there. So
Yeah.
not always, but
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Sometimes we would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just talk about working in an area like that, coming up against just some of the more challenging situations. You had talked earlier about like there just being frightening situations, scary moments.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that there's certain ones that really stand out in your mind.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Can you speak to one in as much detail as you feel comfortable?
Oh, I can tell you, the one that sticks out the most to me is because I remember this because I thought to myself in the situation, it was so bad that I might not see my family again. It was bad.
And just can you describe what was happening?
I was working I was a single man in a patrol car. Sometimes we had 2 patrol car. One of our other units picked up on a stolen vehicle. And so it was rolling. So he gets behind it and, we coordinate the call. He gets on what they call the patch, which means everybody, it opens up so everybody can hear him on the radio, that he was in pursuit of a stolen car and there were gang members inside that stolen car. So I catch up to them. I'm like the second or third vehicle behind the lead police vehicle. And so this gang member goes he turns into a dead end, a cul-de-sac. So he said, okay, he's trapped there. So he stops and we stop behind him. The passenger side jumps out of the car. He's got AK-47 in his hand and he starts blasting at us. I mean, it was horrible. And I remember my training, they said, hey, our training in the academy, they said, if you start receiving heavy gunfire, try to put your engine block between you and the suspect.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. It came right back to my head. So I jumped behind there and I could hear the bullets zipping by me, hitting my car, blowing out my windshield. It was horrible. It was ugly. And I thought, oh man.
And was that like the first big moment like that you've had, or was it?
No, we've had others.
But that was just the biggest one.
That's got to be where there's a couple where I thought I might be injured or killed.
Yeah.
But this one was it just kind of different. It was just crazy.
And
all
so
heck broke loose that night.
How did that, did you eventually, I'm assuming you got out from there and you guys.
So we get out and after, we're on the ground and so we start shooting back. But you don't understand how bad you're overpowered when somebody has a weapon like an AK-47 and we're shooting with our little 9mm. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not easy. You're so outgunned. We had AR-15s in our vehicles, but we couldn't get to them because bullets were flying.
Right.
And then I remember as I was sitting there, guys shooting, I would hear like snaps going past me. I go, what the heck is that? That sound like caps. And somebody told me later that was the bullets breaking the sound barrier right next to you. I said, oh, makes sense.
I mean, I can't like how fast things are going through your head at that moment, but like when that guy gets out with a gun like that and starts firing, obviously it sounds like your training kicked in, so you did what you're supposed to do. Yeah. But like what else is going through your head in moments like that?
In my head, it was the fight back mentality came in. It's like, now we gotta stop this. We gotta stop this. The great thing about East LA stations, I worked with so many great cops, and everybody that pulled up was in the same mindset that I was. Even one guy, we had 2 deputies that got shot in that encounter right there. 2 guys got hit. Thankfully, they lived. But as this guy was shooting, we had another deputy, and there was still a deputy inside the front car that couldn't get out. We had another deputy crawl up to his side. There was another deputy in front, and he went inside that car and pulled that guy out. It's like, oh my gosh. I didn't see it till later. It's like, oh my God, because the bullets were flying like crazy.
Does the thought of, so obviously you're in a life or death situation and you've got to focus on what's happening there, but does like just your personal life, your family obviously is not there, but like, does any of that stuff creep in as well?
Oh, absolutely. My first thought was you guys. I said, I don't know if am I going to see them again? It was that bad, still makes me a little emotional, but yeah, it was tough. It was real tough. But even then, my mindset was fight back. And I know that was in my other partners' heads too, because I saw them. They were fighting back, so. And
once everything kind of stabilizes and you guys get the situation under control, what is just like, I'm assuming just a lot of emotions and things are going through. Like, what is that like? Kind of like.
It's like kind of mixture of chaos and how proud you are of everybody, what they did. Because it's like, wow. And everybody was still, let's go get that guy. That's everybody's mindset. It wasn't just haphazard. We have training, which kicks in, like I said before.
Right.
And so you think about that, and then you just think about staying safe and then actually doing your job and get this guy so he doesn't hurt anybody else.
Right. But let's say once it's all over, your shift's over, you're changing back into your clothes, and you kind of gotta, now I don't know, I'm assuming you're coming home.
Yeah.
And, or I don't know, you call mom at some point, like, hey, here's what happened.
I didn't tell your mom. There's so many things I didn't tell your mom. There's no sense of making her worries. She already worried. Like, being a cop's wife is tough. And so she didn't hear that stuff. So I didn't tell her this after I retired.
Wow.
And I told her, I said, babe, I never told you this and then I told her what happened. And she goes, what? I said, yeah.
But how do you, because that's between those situations, the types of things that you encountered, and then to leave the station and have to basically shut that all off from your mind and be a husband, a dad.
Yeah.
All those sorts of things.
Some people are successful with it. I think I was.
Oh, you were. That's what I'm saying, right? It's like,
yeah,
you would never know.
Yeah.
You would
that
never know anything
know.
happened.
I'd be at your, coaching one of your teams or being at your games, and you would never know the night before somebody tried to shoot me. And I would never tell you guys. You heard about the fun stuff.
Yeah, I remember that.
But,
I remember that.
No, the stuff. No, I would never bring that.
But how
home.
do you? Because I know my personality, and now that you're telling me this, I can't hold that sort of stuff. Like I have to, like, in order for me to cope with things, I have to involve other people.
Yeah.
But you basically had to live this. Well, I mean, maybe with your coworkers, you guys can confide in one another a little bit.
But like, it's not that I'm a tough guy or a super brave guy. It's just that God blessed me with this wall of protection in that matter, as far as not taking it home with me. Because I never did.
No, never.
And to be honest with you, at home with you guys, I was fine. Other of my partners were not so lucky. A lot of them got PTSD.
Right.
And sadly, I know about 4 of my friends that shot themselves.
Right.
And, suicide is huge in police work. And so, like I said, some people can't deal with it, and you would never know because they seem like happy people. And then you hear the next day, oh, so-and-so shot himself.
That's what I'm saying. It just seems like you guys don't get paid, and police officers in general don't get paid enough for what they're asked to do, one, and then two, the burden that gets placed on them for what they have to see and what they have to do.
Yeah, it's bad. Like I said, I was blessed. God protected me with this wall that let me block it out when I needed to. Even to this day, I feel fine. I don't, but a lot of my friends don't. Yeah. So I feel blessed for that. But I never took it home.
That's pretty heavy. Let's switch it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
No, that's good. I appreciate you sharing. That's really good. But what about like just more of maybe a happier moment, or just something that you're really proud of, maybe helping a person, a family, anything like that? That's
a big part of the job. The satisfaction you get with helping people. I can remember a lot of times, I was thankful to be in this position where I could do that. And I was just like, wow, I love my job. Yeah. For example, one time we worked in this area where it's very hilly, and we got a call saying this lady said her elderly mother was missing. She walked away from the house. She was like in her 80s or 90s or something like that. And she was very distraught. And she said, we looked everywhere we can find her. She was crying and everything. I said, okay, we're going to find her. So went on to the hills where I was working, and we spread out. We did what we did tactically, get the helicopter up and everything. And we found her, and literally in a ditch. But she was okay. We got the medics out there, and she was fine. And thankfulness on everybody's, the family's face. It just makes it all worth it. It's just like, wow. Yeah. I get to do that.
So do you feel like that kind of outweighed all the more challenging moments?
Outweighed? Yes. Yes. The fact that I could do stuff like that, or all of us could do stuff like that, made it all worth it. And I would do it again. Sounds crazy, but I would. Yeah. I was meant to be a cop. Yeah. That was my job.
Sure as heck sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just some things like that I remember about, like I always definitely remember, obviously none of this stuff I knew about.
Yeah.
And you're retired 10 years now, and I feel like still, or longer than that.
12 years. Yeah.
And like still slowly as we ask, and your willingness to share now that it's way behind you, it's fascinating to learn about that.
Yeah.
But, growing up, you worked a lot.
Yes.
And you worked a lot of overtime.
Lots of overtime.
And you were present a lot. I remember you being there a lot.
The only thing I didn't do those days was sleep.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. But like, yeah, I remember, certain holiday. I mean, because look, I work a 9 to 5 desk job. I get to take off the time that I need. That's not what this job is about. You guys work. It's 24/7, 365. You guys have to work.
It's not healthy, that's for sure.
Yeah. And so, you would miss certain holidays or things like that. And I never felt like it was never an issue because anytime someone would ask like, hey, where's your dad? I'm like, he's working. Right. Like, obviously. But I always, when people would say that, what would come in the back of my mind was being so proud of what you were doing. Like the reason why you were missing made it like not a big deal. Like it would have been, obviously it would have been nice to have you there.
Yeah.
But knowing that you were doing something really meaningful was like, yeah, that's where he needs to be. And when he is home, like he'll make up the difference. Like it'll be all good. So,
well, I'm so glad you felt the way, and I'd love to hear that because I never heard that before. So that actually is huge for me. So thank you, son.
Yeah, I think, I guess police officers have to sacrifice a lot, but I think like you mentioned, their families and their wives or their husbands also have to sacrifice, which I think, and we don't get paid for that, right? Like it's just,
that's another thing, that the divorce rate for police officers is just, horribly high. Me and your mom, we've always had a wonderful marriage. So it wasn't an issue for us, thank God. And plus your mom's a wonderful woman. So
because of what you did, it was like, we had everything that we wanted, needed. We went to the best schools. We had like never, wanted for anything. So, I mean, it paid off like for sure in that sense. But again, like you worked 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. I mean, like consecutively for weeks, if not months at a time. Like what was like, just, I'm guessing I know why you did it, but just like the grind of putting yourself through something like that.
It was tough, but I would do it. Like I said, I was glad to do it because I was able to take care of you guys so well. And you remember all the great vacations we go on every year.
Absolutely.
And I always wanted for that for you guys. And that's why you do it for your kids nowadays. So I'd love to see that. But it was tough. It was like I said, literally, I didn't sleep in those days. I would work graveyards, all night long. I would do a lot of overtime at the courts, because it was a little bit easier than working patrol all the time.
Right.
So I would go and I would sleep. I get off of work at 6 a.m. I'd drive to the courthouse, park in the parking lot, sleep for like 20 minutes, and then get up and go work at the courthouse during the day. Then I'd come home and coach one of you guys in one of your sports or go to one of your games and stuff. But all worth it for me. I'd do it all again.
And I can't, I can't possibly compare. I think because of what you did, I get to work office job that, I do very well. And
yes, you do.
I don't have to work the overtime because I, do well. And but there's other things, and I've been talking about that a lot on this podcast as well, which is I have my day job, but I don't stop there, right? I'm doing this podcast, which is taking a decent amount of my time. I'm doing the real estate stuff. I'm coaching the kids baseball as well, right?
Well,
it's like, it's a lot to take on. And I sometimes ask myself, what's the driving force behind that? And I think it's just because you and I don't explicitly talk about those things, but I think it's more so just, it's like leading by actions or example rather than us needing to sit down and you verbalize like what needed to happen or how you should go about things.
Yeah.
It was more so, now that I think about it, was just watch how I'm doing this and then learn a thing or two.
Yeah.
So I think that's, because I've been asking myself like why am I putting myself through? Because it's a lot. Like kind of like you mentioned, right? Again, I didn't have the emotional, the physical component that you talked about, so I can't put myself in the same boat as you. But it is exhausting in a different way. Like,
but you're doing
the
it.
Things that I'm taking on, and but it feels like it's possible. And I think about my sister, my brother, that all have that same mentality of just, we're doing well, but we're going to keep pushing the envelope of what's possible. And I think, it was you and I need to give credit to mom too, which was on the flip side of you working and doing all that, you effectively have like a single parent, kind of like you guys have a healthy and great relationship, but now being a parent, I have an appreciation for what she does because, Christine and I share household responsibilities, the childcare responsibilities, and you were working, so mom had to either do it herself or find ways to do all that stuff too, right?
Your mom was amazing. Jeez Louise. Yeah, your mom did everything. She was even at school all the time with a PTA, or she worked. She had a full-time job. Your mom was a big reason we have the success that we had. Both in our marriage. We have one of the best marriages I've seen. It's truly, she's to thank for a lot of that stuff. So your mom. You need to make this a successful career, police officer. You need somebody who supports you and can see how hard it is to get through, and that they need that support. And in turn, I gave her back support, and it just worked out. We were very, very lucky, because it's hard to be a police officer's spouse, whether you're a male police officer or female. It's tough. It's tough. I do it all again.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So when I talk about what I said earlier about you kind of more so leading by example, or rather than like sitting me down and necessarily verbalizing things, you did a little bit of that, but I think it was more so just setting it by example. Yeah. And now we're adults. We have our own kids and stuff like that. Like, how do you think it all worked out?
Yeah, it worked out perfectly. I mean, you're a great father. You're a great husband. You work hard. We know that, and you're successful. So a parent couldn't ask for more than that.
Well, yeah, I guess when you think about whatever you and mom had goals that you guys had set for what you wanted your children to become, we talked about the education piece, but we talked about becoming successful and contributing members of society, right? I don't know. It just seems like your plan worked out whatever your plan was, it seemed to work out pretty well. I'm just trying to think about it from the perspective of now, like, I'm not the kid anymore. I'm in your shoes, and just trying to figure out how to do that. Make sure that we have the same level of success.
Well, as long as you keep family number one, and everything else will fall into place. You're a smart person. You know what you have to do to be successful in that aspect, and you're doing it. You obviously paid attention. You obviously saw what we did, and you learned from it, and now you're doing it.
Yeah.
And you're doing well. So, people have different types of parenting techniques, I guess you would call them, for lack of a better term. So it worked out for us. So, I'm happy to see how everything turned out.
So you went through a huge grind for, was it 25 years, 30 years?
30 years, yeah.
30 years. And then, like you mentioned at the beginning of this, one of the benefits of, well, there's many, but that you talked about, but was that you put in 30 years, and at the end of that 30 years, you're rewarded with a good retirement life, right?
Well, that's a good thing about police work. First of all, you get an outstanding retirement package. Plus, you get to retire early. I retired at 55 years old.
Right.
I remember sitting there the day after going, I'm cheating the system, because I feel like I want to get back in a patrol car. But, I do, well, okay, I'm done. I missed it. It's starting to wane a little bit at 12 years after retire, about wanting to go back in a patrol car or do police work. But I did miss it. That's how much I missed it. But the retirement benefits are outstanding as long as you keep your health.
Yeah.
I was lucky in that, except for a couple of my joints, I'm in excellent health. Mom and I travel all over the place, and we get to see our grandkids all the time. And so you got to maintain your health. Whereas a lot of that's another reason why police get to retire at a young age, because statistically, we die at a younger age.
Right.
So, which a lot of my friends have, and a lot of my friends they're beat up. I mean, their bodies are, they have problems with their heart, diabetes, joints, you name it. They got problems.
Yeah.
Again, God blessed me, and I'm in excellent health. So but the retirement is great. I mean, it was all worth it. So
I think the last thing I want to talk about is, I remember when like I said, growing up, I was very proud of what you did. I still am. Still very grateful for what our police and military do for us today.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for you, it's been kind of tough, because in the last 5, 6, 7 years, there's kind of been a group of people that have decided that, because there's a couple of bad police officers, that that they're all bad, or they just come up with these, crazy ideas about.
Yeah.
How much does that bother you? And if so,
absolutely. Absolutely. It bothers me. We're the only profession, literally, that, well, first of all, common sense will tell you that absolutely every profession has their bad apples. Every profession. Police, clergy, teachers, they all have their bad apples. But the law enforcement profession is the only one where people, not everybody, but a group of people put a blanket judgment on us, and it's just not fair. As I will tell you, and this means a lot to me, that 98% of all the police officers are out there working hard, doing what's right, and they want to do this right and just protect the public. That's 98% of the people out there, maybe even higher than that. You only hear about the bad ones, which they should be punished. In fact, one of the truly bad ones, I'll lock them up myself because that's despicable. And actually, they should be punished worse than the average person because they're put in a spot of where they're supposed to do right.
Power, yeah.
Yeah. And they don't. And that's despicable to me. So yes, throw the book at them,
Right.
But most of us are not, and it's just not fair. And it actually makes it, you have to defund the police and all this stuff. And that's just, whoever came up with that was an idiot. I'm sorry, but they're an idiot.
Yeah.
Because thankfully that's turning around a little bit because you don't have to defund the police. But you're not doing yourselves a favor either, because all that does is weaken your law enforcement community. And they won't want to, makes it less desirable to go out there and do what you're supposed to do as a cop, So
right.
It's not good. It's not good at all.
Well, I really hope for the people that do listen to this, they've come to understand the sacrifices and things that you don't see, right? You see them driving around and people maybe think about the one that gave them a speeding ticket
right.
But what you described today is like what you never see, what you don't see. And you only got into the tip of the iceberg of it, right?
Right.
And I think if people understood that there were complete strangers willing to spend time away from their family, put these burdens on themselves, and then put their life at risk for you, who they don't know.
Yeah.
Have some appreciation for that.
Yeah. And it's a shame that people try to use that as a political tool. And I'm glad that's kind of waning a little bit. But I don't know if in the atmosphere that we talked about that occurred just a few years ago, and still a little bit of it today, if I would do the same thing, if I'd want to go in that profession, even though I wanted to do the job the way it's supposed to be done. But I don't know if I'd want to, so.
Now, that's unfortunate because there's a lot of good young Marios in their early 20s that are probably deciding that are rudderless and trying to figure out what they want to do. And maybe this isn't even anywhere on their radar because of that reason. And that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So.
And, it's right now you have a lot of police departments are hurting for police officers. They can't hire anybody. And that's part of the problem right there because it's not attractive to anybody anymore. So you need people that are going to support you.
Yeah.
It's getting better, I think. Hopefully it keeps getting better, but we'll see.
Well, the last question is, as a dad, I'm not going to force anything on the boys and just kind of guide them and let them make their own decisions.
Exactly.
But I do have an idea in my head of what I would like to have happen. Did you have some idea of what you wanted to have happen? And then how do you think that
as far as sports you're talking about?
No. Just like how you wanted your kids' lives to turn out versus what's actually happened.
It's actually better than expected. I'm very proud of you. Parents, they want their kids to grow up to be good, solid, good human beings. And that's what you guys have done. And I could be happier with that. It just so happens, icing on the cake, that you guys are all very successful in things you've done. And so that's just a plus. So yeah, we're proud. Yeah.
All right. We'll call it there. Thanks for coming on, Dad.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks, Mijo.
Love you, and we'll see you soon.
Love you too.
All right.
Bye-bye.